for their help with the accident, both from a site security as well as the first responders from this area. They truly were a great help for us. The purpose of the NTSB investigation is pretty simple. We'd like to prevent the future tragedy. To do that, we look at all the factors that might have been at play with the accident, from the man to the aircraft to the environment. So we'll look at the pilot's medical history, his certification standards, his training, and his currency. Areas like those. We'll also look at the aircraft from an airworthiness standpoint, maintenance, servicing, anything that might have influenced the aircraft. And then we'll also look at the environment, from the weather to the air traffic control issues that might have been at play. And from all those factors, we'll try to glean what occurred with the accident and what recommendations we might be able to make to prevent a future accident. Assisting me in the investigation today, we have two members from the San Antonio Flight Standards District Office. They're with the FAA. We also have two members from the NTSB. We have another regional investigator from Texas, as well as the Transportation Disaster Assistance from headquarters NTSB. Helps to assist the family and friends with the accident. We've also got a member from Textron, the airframe manufacturer, and we have a member from Continental Engines, the engine manufacturer, as well as the extended FAA staffs and the NTSB staffs are assisting. Give you an idea on the timeline. The preliminary report will be released about a week from now, so next week you can expect a preliminary report that will be available on ntsb.gov. The final report is normally in the 12 to 18 month time frame. After that final report is out, the factual report, that will be followed by the probable cause a month or two later. Throughout that time frame, Transportation Disaster Assistance will be available for the family to keep them abreast of the investigation. And all the reports are, as I said, released on ntsb.gov. Okay, a little background information. The weather at the time of the accident, winds were out of the south, 170 degrees, 11 gusts to 17. The skies were overcast at about 1,200 feet AGL above the ground, and 10 miles statute miles of visibility. The temperature was about 18 degrees, and air traffic control did not show any precipitation on their radar at the time of the accident. The destination, as you're aware, is the Kerrville Municipal Airport, about 6 miles from here. The field elevation at Kerrville is 1,616 feet above sea level, and the accident occurred about 6 miles prior to runway 12 at the Kerrville Municipal Airport. A little bit of information on the pilot. He was airline transport pilot certificated, very experienced pilot, over 5,000 flight hours. The aircraft was a 1999 Beech 58 Baron. It's a twin engine aircraft with two Continental engines, and it was purchased by the pilot in 2002. Okay, give you a little preliminary information from air traffic control. We had the aircraft departing West Houston Airport at 7:30 Central Time. He climbed up to a cruising altitude of 6,000 feet. He descended into Kerrville and decelerated as he descended, intercepted a final to runway 12, and he was flying a GPS approach into Kerrville at the time of the accident. While on final and below the cloud layer, the aircraft began to slow and also descend to a low altitude. The last air traffic control data that was captured at 8:50 Central Time, the aircraft was at 2,000 feet above sea level, which is about 200 feet above the ground level. And that was on a 6-mile final, so lower and slower than you would expect from an aircraft on a long final like that. The air traffic control track stopped near the accident site. We do have 3 witnesses that have come forward, and we appreciate those witnesses. They noticed a spiraling aircraft prior to ground impact. None of these witnesses actually saw the aircraft hit the ground. A little bit of information on the accident site. The aircraft came to rest upright, impacted with a very low forward speed and a high vertical speed. There was no post-impact fire, and the wreckage was constrained beneath the footprint of the aircraft. We did not find any components missing this morning during our initial investigation. Obviously, an area of interest is why the aircraft would be so low and slow on final, so far out. So that's the area of interest that we're looking toward. And today and the weeks ahead, we're examining the aircraft systems to include the fuel system, both engines, both propellers. We do have engine data that we're going to be able to download that should give us some insights as to what may have been going on with the engines. As I told you earlier, the preliminary report will be released on NTSB.gov next week, and I could take a few questions.
You mentioned the weather. Would that have anything to do with, would that be considered good weather? Would that have anything to do with the crash yesterday?
The weather was 1,200 feet AGL. That's not great weather, but it's not horrible weather either. As best we can tell, he was below the ceiling when the accident occurred.
Sir, do we know, I know it's preliminary at this point, but if there was a mayday call or any call for help?
We don't have any information related to that. He had been switched from on air traffic control from the approach controller to the common traffic air frequency. So we don't know if he made a call on that frequency, but that's not monitored by the FAA. That's just the airport frequency.
Do we know at this point what they were doing in Kerrville, why they were flying here, what the intent was?
As I understand, the 5 passengers were coming here for some business dealings that they had in the area.
Any idea if they died on impact?
Yes, they died on impact.
Potential storms or more rain is expected throughout the rest of the day. Is that going to impede the investigation at all? Or
no, we'll continue. We're going to have some lunch here, and we'll continue this afternoon. We've got our rain gear. We're ready to roll.
You mentioned the preliminary report will be available in a week. How much longer will you be here?
We'll be here for the next couple days during the on-site portion of the investigation. Following that, we've got engine exams planned as well as the propeller exams. Obviously, downloading the engine data, like I mentioned, that will occur over the weeks ahead.
Sir, could you explain the terrain where the aircraft is right now, or what you all are working through?
Certainly, it's typical Kerrville area, hilly terrain, very rocky at the bottom of the swell there, with small trees, that sort of thing. But it impacted into a relatively open area.
Any idea if maybe he was trying to land the plane?
No, I would say with the high vertical descent and the slow forward speed, it's not consistent with trying to land the airplane. No.
Now, sir, you mentioned that there wasn't a fire. Is that unusual in a crash like this? Does that indicate anything?
Crash sites are very dynamic. Some trigger a fire, some don't. But that is an area of interest for us to look into. Yeah, it's a twin-engine aircraft. Like I said, manufactured in 1999. I believe it's a 6-passenger aircraft. Pretty common aircraft throughout the country. I'll tell you what, I appreciate everybody being here in the rain, and we're gonna head off now. And thanks for your time.
Are you gonna have to let other press members?
We'll have to check on that and see where we're at with the investigation, but I don't expect to.
What was your first name and title?
Mike.
Okay.
And I'm an air safety investigator from the central region of the NTSB. Well, thank you everyone for your coverage. I appreciate your time.